Bro, now nigga get changed. Chop get blues on the mouth through the maze. Push star coupe on in the king. Standing there blocking up, serving the feed. Pie got not get to the blue cheese. Four got rocks up, serving the weed. I been out of town on the roads of my dreams. Four got a Glock with a scope and a beam. Nigga.
I do want to get back to what you were saying about getting into wrestling. So your friend introduced you to pro wrestling?
So I had friends throughout grade school, high school, and even after who liked wrestling. I was of that mindset. It's fake, it's stupid. I just never, but I had never really watched it.
Okay.
And then I just happened to be watching one night, and I saw Steve Austin come on TV. It was my first time ever seeing him.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I was just captivated by him. And I thought, man, that guy's different. He's special. There's something different about him, the way that he carried himself. And
was it early Steve Austin, or was it the Stone Cold?
It was Stone Cold Steve Austin. I remember the first night he came out. He drove a pickup truck to the ring, and he had a 6-pack of beer on his lap and flipping the camera guy off. And I think he beat up Vince. And I just remember thinking oh, he's pretty cool. And then my roommates at the time, I had 3 or 4 roommates, and they were all in college, and they all watched wrestling religiously. So I started watching with them every week just to see what Austin would do. And then they kind of filled me in on everybody else. Pretty soon it was Kane and Taker. The Nation of Domination was, Rock wasn't even a thing at the time.
Right.
Die Rocky died. Everybody wanted him to die for real.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I just kept, and then it became so white hot, and I would go to work at this nuclear power plant, and that's all we would talk about. Every guy that I worked with watched wrestling. So when we were sitting in those boxes for an hour, we'd have phones. We could call, hey, did you see Monday Night Raw? Then pretty soon it was SmackDown, and they started.
How long was it, that period of time where you guys were just talking about it through the whole time?
It was like the Attitude Era.
Okay.
And it was just whatever was happening. And then I remember walking into work and somebody saying did you see The Rock last night? The Rock, you know who's really starting to impress me is The Rock, because he was starting to do some funny promos.
Right.
And he was really starting to catch on. And then just like that, and then that's all I would talk about. My friends would talk about it. And I was at a party one night, and one of my friends said, man, I know somebody that's going to wrestling school. And I was like, it had never even dawned on me how you would learn how to do such a thing.
Right.
So I went home that night, and I got on the internet. It was there was no Google at the time. It was AOL.
Oh yeah, phone book.
It was the dial-up that.
Oh shit! Oh, okay, damn.
Yeah, and I searched pro wrestling schools. I remember thinking I would have to go to one of the major cities like Chicago, LA, or New York. I figured there was not going to be any wrestling schools outside of those 3 major cities. So I looked up. Chicago was the closest, and I found a wrestling school just outside of Chicago. And I reached out to him. I left him a message that night. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from a guy in Green Bay who, word of mouth.
Okay.
The guy in Chicago had passed my number on to him. And he said, hey, I'm just opening up a wrestling school. I was his first student, first tryout.
Wow.
So he was like, you can come up and you can try out if you want. And here's the thing, I didn't know wrestling at the time.
Right.
I hadn't been a fan my whole life. So he was like, what do you think about Ric Flair? And what do you think about the Hitman? And I was like, I've heard those names before, but I really don't know. And I remember he told me later on, he said this guy's never gonna make it. There's no way it would. And the first time I stepped foot in that ring, I knew that it just felt right, man. I was like, I'm home. This is what I want to do. And then I dedicated myself to
What was my bad?
No.
What was kind of the tryout? What did he have you really do?
I think he had me take a back bump. He showed me how to run the ropes. showed me how to do a flip bump. That was really maybe how to lock up and maybe take an arm, just a couple basic things. And that was it. Okay. And then we just talked. And I remember we went to this restaurant in Green Bay and just sat there for a couple hours and chatted. And I believe he charged me $125 to do the tryout.
Okay.
And